welcome to the first in a series of videos about how to make zines. July is International Zine Month, and the Berkeley Public Library wanted to celebrate by getting our wonderful community members to express themselves with zines. Zines are small, independently made books. They give everyone a voice. Since we at the library are all about learning and exploring and discovering what you have to say, we thought that we would do it through zines. Zines come in all shapes and sizes, but today we're going to be talking about three of the most popular formats. We've got the half-page zine, so called because each page is half a page. You also hear this one called folio, but half-page is more common. Then we've got our quarter-page zines, or quartos, named because every page is a quarter of a sheet of regular paper. And then finally, we have my personal favorite, mini-zines. Mini-zines are like they're an eighth of a page, but you make them out of just one sheet of paper. Start with a half-page zine. It's really simple to fold. It's literally just a bunch of pieces of paper folded in half and then put inside each other. So we're gonna start with one that has 8 pages. Every sheet of paper gives you 4 pages of half-page zine. And you'll see why in a second. If I fold this guy in half, et voila, page 1, page 2 and 3, page 4. So you just do that with every sheet of paper you want in your zine. This guy, we're doing an 8-pager, just 2 pieces of paper, one nested inside the other. You can see that some have many more pages, but we're just gonna do the simple 8-pager today. Then you just start from it folded in a stack, and this is gonna be our front cover. I'm going to really lightly in pencil write front on it so I don't get confused. Next, open it really carefully so that just that front page is unfolded. And now we've got page 1, page 2, unfold the next sheet, page 3, page 4. You see where I'm going with this. When you get to that last page, you can either make it page 7 or it can be the back cover. And you'll notice the reason we wrote all this really lightly in pencil is because I probably don't want the word back on my back cover. Once you've got it all numbered, it's time to fill out the zine. We're going to borrow this beautiful pre-made one from J. Sosa. I have already stacked up the pages in order, and you'll notice that when you've got it like this, when you go to fold, this top piece of paper, that becomes your cover. The bottom piece of paper, that's gonna be your middle pages. So that's like 3 and 4 in an 8-page zine. This is the point where if you wanna make copies of your beautiful zine, you can. What you would do now is if you go to a scanner or if you take a picture with your phone, you take one of each page laying totally flat, and then once you've made copies of the flat pages, you put them back together in your little stack. Now, we are ready to bind your zine. You're gonna bind each copy individually. Simplest way to do it is with your trusty stapler. There are 2 ways that you can bind a zine like this. There is a way that's probably like easiest to finagle, where you just do it right next to the spine. But if you want it to be really fancy and open all the way flat, like this beautiful guy, then what you want to do is staple right on the spine itself. Make sure that the cover is pointed up at you, because otherwise you get the pokey bits of the staple sticking out of the spine of your book, and nobody wants that. What you're gonna do is turn your page sideways. Most ordinary staplers won't accommodate like a half-page zine unless you get really tricksy and lightly, without pressing down so you don't make a seam, fold over the edge of it. Then we can go in and do seam sort of a quarter of the way down the spine, and another bind here about a quarter of the way from the bottom. You can see that we had a little problem. That second staple didn't come out the way we want it. Use your fingers or like a staple remover and just try again. Zines don't have to be perfect. That's part of their charm. They're handmade. All right, let's try stapling this guy one more time. Again, fold over that paper, but do not crease it. That is how you get a very sad wrinkle in the middle of your zine. Get the stapler all ready again. Ka-chunk. And now we have a beautiful middle seam binding with the sharp bits safely contained inside. Voila, you have yourself a beautiful half-page zine. Shout out again to Jay Sosa, the incredible zine maker who created a small spicy guide to Mexican hot peppers. So even though we didn't crease, you do get a bit of a wibble when you have to fold it for the stapler. You can solve that in one of two ways. You can either put a book on top of it for a day, boom, little wavy bit gone, or there's something called a long form or long arm stapler. It's the same thing as a stapler, except this annoying black bit is way further back. So you can put a much larger piece of paper in laying flat. You can find those very frequently at like copy shops. So if you're there making copies of your zine anyway, great place to do it. Now we're gonna do quarto or quarter page zines. These are basically exactly like a half page zine, except you cut the paper in half before you start. To make sure you're getting the exact middle, I like to fold the page in half. Do that good crease so you know exactly where the middle is. And then we just cut down that line. Again, it's okay if the edge is a little ragged. Zines are about individuality and self-expression and not about being perfect. Once you've cut all your pieces of paper, you're ready to start. If you've got a ton more pages than this and it's just a pain to do it with the scissors, good news. At that copy shop, there will almost definitely be a big paper cutter. They've got like a blade on an arm that you just kind of whooshed, bring down, and it'll chop like 5 or 6 pieces of paper at once, sometimes more. So now we've got our half sheets, and from this point, it's identical to making your half page zine. Fold that stack in half. This is your front cover, and then we number it the same way. Very carefully turn one page at a time. Page 1, page 2, and so on. For the quarter page zine, you'll notice we're here in the middle, and that's pages 7 and 8 instead of 3 and 4. We used the same amount of sheets of paper. We used 2 sheets of paper, but whereas you get 4 zine pages per sheet of paper with a half page, we double that and you get 8 per sheet of paper with the quarter zine. Once you've got your nice finished zine, you can just staple it right then and there, or if you want to make copies, you basically just go to the copy machine and you lay your pages out one on top of each other on the scanner. so that way it scans as one page and you just cut it in half again. You can also just make it on the full pages and be really careful of how you're numbering, but I find that so much harder than just cutting twice. And now, when you're ready to bind your issue, here's something awesome about quarter page zines actually. They fit perfectly under an average stapler. Shoot, notice what I was about to do. I was about to staple it so that the pointy bits would be on the outside. We don't want that. We always want to do cover side up so that the pointy bits stay inside where they can't hurt anyone. You can see that I had a little bit of trouble doing it over the exact middle. The good news is that doesn't really damage the zine. You can still turn all the pages like normal. It just doesn't look as good and the spine might rip at some point. So if you want, you can redo those so that it looks more like this, which is like beautifully, perfectly stapled on the side. Now it's time for my absolute favorite, the mini zine. How do we turn this plain piece of paper into a beautiful little booklet? First thing you do is you just fold the paper long ways in half. Give it that nice crease. Then we're gonna unfold it and do the same short ways. Okay. Then when we open this, I like to do it so that these bends are on the opposite side from the next fold. So we're gonna do that. Take this short end, fold it into your middle line. That's why it's so important we have a nice crease so you know exactly where the edge of your paper is going. Do it again on the other side. If this feels vaguely familiar, it's actually a really common step in a lot of beginning origami, so there you go. Now, notice how we've made it so that you can do this sort of folding tent thing. What we're gonna do next is flip them over so your tent becomes two little tents. Flatten it out and start numbering. The thing about a mini zine is that the pages move counterclockwise. This bottom right corner is always going to be your front cover. And every page, the top of the page touches this middle fold. So once you've marked your front cover, you flip it around and start numbering left to right. So we've got page 1, 2, 3, 4. Give it another flip. 5, 6, 7, or your back cover. Flip the paper over one more time, lots of flipping in this. Make that tent again and do it to sort of maximum height so that what you've basically got is a foldy bit in the middle. Grab your trusty scissors, cut just the middle bit in half. Now, what you've got is a paper folded in 8 with a little gap in it. So what we're gonna do now is basically make a star out of your booklet. We're going to pick it up, sort of fold it in half, and start bringing these sides away from each other. You might have to sort of pop these seams so that they point the other way. That'll make it a little easier. Keep pulling those sides out until you've got a 4-pointed star. At this point, you just sort of really carefully crease each bit. You'll see that the two side points of your star, you're creasing at the bottom and the top, and your two upper points, you're creasing sort of on this side pointing towards the hole. Once you've got your star nice and crisp, find that front cover and fold it over like that, so that you've sort of smushed your star into a really messy parallelogram in two lines. Now we fold one more time, bringing the front cover around to the front, and boom! We've got ourselves a beautiful zine. It has 8 pages, including that cover, and you can do anything you want with it. Your other option is you can always draw all the pages of your zine. Again, we've got our front cover going around 1 through 6 and my back cover. And then do the thing where you flip it over, you get it up, you cut down the middle, you sort of pull these sides apart. Oh no, sorry, you turn it over and you pull the sides apart to get your star. This one doesn't want to cooperate with me. That will happen, don't worry about it. We squish down our cover on the front. Then we do our last bit, fold it in half, get that lovely cover in front, boom! There is your finished zine. If you want to make a copy of this guy, really easy, unfold them, go to a copy machine, put it face down on the copier, get as many copies of this as you want, cut and fold them all.